So what do you want to know about prototypes?
Why people care so much about them?
I think it's the allure of the rarity of it. Like, you look at this thing, you know, this is what you call this is a test shot. So when they do test shots, there's different levels of prototypes. These are, you know, these are test shots. They don't care about mold color. This is whatever color they have on hand. They're just trying to test the molds to see where they need to make changes and tolerances and things like that. So you see, like, that gun was falling off because nothing fits well. Like, this is really loose. You know, the doors have a gap in them. Like, no test shot comes out perfect. You make comments on every single test shot. But, you know, you think about it, like, they sent me, I have 2 full ones and I have 2 that were in parts that if I put together, I'd have 2 more. So it's 4 of them. They probably ran, I don't know, another 10 to test at the factory. So, yeah, there's only a handful of them. But, you know, I guess that's the allure of it. It's you know, oh, it was something that there's only a few of. Okay. But it's also like a lot of people don't care because it's like, well, this isn't how it was meant to go to market.
That's where I fall.
Yeah. So to me, it's like I have a bunch of like unreleased GI modern, like in the 25th anniversary through Pursuit of Cobra and 50th anniversary, like unreleased figures never got released. It's cool. It's coveted, but I like that they never got released. I'd rather collect something that was canceled and never got released. Like, I think that's cooler. You know, like the blank got released. Cyborg got released. They only got released in Canada, but they got released. But I would much rather something that was made in production quality and got canceled before it came out than something that was part of the production run, but it's just this. Like, this is, you know, yeah, I have it here because it's my vehicle, but I don't know what the allure is of test shots. I'd rather, to me, if I were collecting prototypes, it would just be unreleased things that got to production but never made it to market.
Now, one thing I do find cool, because so like for people that don't know, when they do it, when they run this, and it's just whatever, it's because they're already running something and they stop production. They throw this in really quick, just to test it out. So there is a toy or something out there that is this color palette.
A lot of people believe that. I've heard that. I don't know how true it is. I've believed that is the case, but
it's happened within. I don't know if it's like, you know, because this obviously would be something non-action force. Now, people do have like a Triceraton or a Bebop one in Casey Jones colors. Because they were running Casey Jones, they stopped it, they tried him out.
Gotcha.
So there is one floating around.
That makes sense for like a Turtles line.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, this factory, the Vanguard was the only Action Force thing at the time at that factory.
So they just probably just threw in plastic.
But also,
it's weird how they all kind of go to these colors.
Yeah, well, you got to think. That's ABS, that's ABS, that's ABS, that's ABS, 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 ABS. So all these parts are ABS. There wouldn't be PVC, like if there were PVC, none of these parts are PVC. But actually, those, I'm trying to remember what mold these are in.
I used to work for a plastic company. I used to do plastics all day.
I think these are, so that might be in the same mold as that. And there's something else. Something else is PVC, but I think it's a very small mold. But the majority of it is ABS. So yeah, not every plastic color can go, like you can't just take, the blue that was used for ABS and put it in PVC. It's a different formula. So yeah, I mean, I could probably ask the factory, like, hey, what were you guys making? I guess it doesn't matter, but I've had multiple people ask me, like, what do you think they were making? I'm like, I don't know. Something blue.
Something Polly Pocket.
Yes. Yeah, some baby item, powder puff blue thing. I don't know. You know?
No, but going back to prototypes.
Yeah.
What you said is cool. What you collect is I get that. But like, I always tell people, I would rather have the Mona Lisa than like his first attempt.
Yeah, his sketchbook with his sketch in it. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Leonardo
his sketchbook is
worth quite a bit of money. Yeah,
but like, or like, you know, they'll be like, oh, this is the when people collect the molds
Yeah.
of the figures, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's the mold.
It's the mold. It's not the figure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. I don't know why you'd even want this. Like, look, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's kind of dog shit. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't perform. It's meant to make comments on. Like,
Right.
this is such an early part of the process. I don't get it. Then there are people like, there's different levels. Like this is essentially like a VSP sample or like a first shot. Then you have like an EP sample, which is like, say that figure with the deco. Now say the deco is perfect on the first run. Well, that EP sample is going to look the same as the production run. But you probably couldn't tell the difference. If I told you, hey, this is an EP sample, you go, ooh, really? How do you know? It doesn't look different from the production version. So it's like, there's different levels to it, but I don't know. To me, it's never something that I got into like collecting first shots. Like it just doesn't matter to me.
Is there something wrong with him that you changed?
Yeah, I think his torso was sitting slightly too high.
I saw that.
Yeah, his torso was sitting too high. There's some flashing on the POM joint of the elbow. His wrist discs were pushed in like too far, so he couldn't get a good range of motion. So I had to like extend that like a millimeter. Some of the detail in the knee pads were really soft, so I had to go in and like, clean up the mold a bit. But other than that,
do you find it to become less and less issues the more you work with a factory and they produce things, or is it just always the same?
To a degree. I mean, figures, what I just said, you're kind of always going to get on test shots. Like, no, I've never had a figure test shot where every joint was perfect. It never happens. Like, never. Too tight, like that thigh is
See, how do you know if it's the actual build or if it's just bad plastic that day?
Well, that's for the factory to decide. Like, I make the comment,
Okay.
They have to go and debug.
Okay.
I make the comment, they go back and they say, oh, he said the thigh is too. All right, is that what hardness PVC do we use? Is this 85 or is this 90 or is it 95? Because that will determine. If they're like, oh, we ran 95. All right, let's run another sample in 90 and then see how that moves then. Or they could be like, all right, yeah, that's sticking too much. We'll have to go and clean up the mold. So it's a number of things. But no test shot is ever ready to go. I've never gotten a test shot. All my years of Hasbro, Jazzwares, doing Action Force, talking hundreds and hundreds of test shots I've touched. Never got one and said that's perfect. Always. You're always making comments. If you're not making comments, you are doing something wrong. Like absolutely doing something wrong. That's why I think like I'm so critical of like other companies or like, the classified line. Like when I'm like, how did that make it to production? You have so many rounds of this to do. I got this figure 4 times before it went to production. 4 times. So I was able to make comments 4 times. So when things get out and I'm like, that's and some comments, like obviously I'm not making a deco comment here because deco hasn't been applied. But if I see a classified figure and it doesn't have a good range of motion or something is too tight or with the neck sitting too high, I'm like, 3 samples ago you were able to make that comment. And if you didn't catch it on the first one, you got 2 and 3 and 4. So
every NECA figure, let's say I bought 100 NECA figures.
Mm-hmm.
50 of them I broke on initial opening.
Yeah.
And 75% of them, something almost broke.
NECA was notorious for having QC issues, which I'm like, they've been in business forever. Yeah. So to me, it's like, how did that happen? Now, granted, I ran into an issue on our Series 2 with the Scarab. The Scarab had faulty plastic, and the hip joint you could just move it like the slightest, and it would break. It would brittle. Like the POM was brittle, and it just cracked. So the factory determined that the batch of plastic they had gotten, because it wasn't on all of them, it was on, I think, like 20% of them. And they determined that the batch of plastic they had gotten that day had a flaw in it. It happens. You're dealing with temperatures, and it has to get hot and then cool and get pushed in the molds and this and that. So, you know, you got day crews and night crews. You have hundreds of people touching this thing. So, you know, it's like stuff can happen. It sucks when it does, because it was like a nightmare, because we had to let everyone know about it. Now, it didn't, the figure still sold out. Like, we're not sitting on any, the figure sold out. The figure sold out very early. So it didn't stop people from buying it, because I got in front of it and I said, hey, there was a flaw in the plastic. The factory's already running new hips. I think within 2 weeks, they had thousands of hips for me. I got like 6 big boxes just filled with poly-bagged hips that they got done really fast. There was no deco. That, like, it was just a black waist and the balls. Sonic welded together. Like, they got it done in a couple days and it was out. So it was their problem. They owned up to it. They were like, yeah, we'll replace it. They sent it to me, and then, you know, I shipped them out free of charge. All you had to do was send a picture with your order number, and we replaced it. Like, but that's an issue that wasn't something you can test. Now, NECA, like, that happened a lot. It's like, put it that way, if the Scarab happened on like 3 other figures, I'm like, halt production on everything.
Yeah.
We need to find a solve for this.
Do you think that's because, like, NECA, just their Turtles department alone would crush Valaverse by how many they're putting out every year?
Oh, yeah.
Like, as far as like their toon line, their comic line,
yeah,
their whatever, their movie line, and that's just Turtles. And then they've got all these other lines, and they probably have like a QC department for each line.
Yeah, and they're probably using multiple different factories.
Maybe their best QC line is with whatever, or best factors, whatever. But right now, it's like you're putting out what, 5-6 figures every quarter?
6 months, yeah,
6
every
months?
quarter, yeah.
And it's you.
Yeah.
It's Vala of Valaverse checking it.
Yeah.
Now, like, when you do you think it's just like that's just part of NECA being so big? Is there just
no, because they should have designers. Like, when I was at Hasbro, I was the designer. They say this was Spider-Man. This was my item. I designed the item, kicked it off with China. It got produced. My engineer would get shipments every day from China, and then he would divvy them up to whoever the designer was on the team. So I'd come in my office, and there'd be a box sitting on my desk of some test shots or EP samples or FEP samples. And I would make comments, and I'd send them the comments. So it's like every designer's getting these. Everyone, every designer or engineer. Jazzwares was a little different. Like, Jazzwares, I remember, like, Hasbro, you had a designer, you had an engineer, and you had a marketer. We all used the model shop and stuff like that, but I worked directly with my engineer. He was my voice to China for production stuff, but I had my own voice to China for kicking off concept models and things like that. Jazzwares, you had designers, and then you had project managers, no engineers. Hasbro had project managers also, but they oversee a whole umbrella of things. So then, like, when I said, hey, when are we getting samples? They're like, oh, the project managers handle the samples. I was like, what? What? Like, I don't get the samples? They're like, well, if you want them, we'll give them to you, but the project manager usually, like, makes comments. You know, sometimes they'll have a meeting and we'll go over them, but a lot, like, and I'm like, stop. I'm seeing everything. I need, because who else is going to make the comment? Because what if that figure gets made and then all of a sudden I'm getting my sample, I rip it open, and all of a sudden, like, his arm pops off. I'm like, who made this comment? Did no one make this comment? Did this not happen? I want to know that I had a hand in this from start to finish. And I was like that at Hasbro. A lot of designers at Hasbro, good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. He was there like 30 years. He would get samples in and he'd never touch them. I'm like, or he'd like look at them like, all right, oh, that's cool. Like, he'd never go through it like a fine-tooth comb like I would. I'd probably send them 30, 40 comments. He'd maybe send them like 2 or 3. It's like, he goes, yeah, to me, he goes, I care about the concept. I don't care about the product. I'm like, your concept becomes this.
Yeah.
You gotta make like this awesome. You know, you have one shot to like make this awesome. It's like, if it gets messed up, then what? So, you know, but yeah, like that's why like I kind of rag on Super 7. It's like when stuff gets to market and like You know, they're missing Moe's apron in the Simpsons line. It's like, did you approve an EP comment or an FEP sample? FEP samples, you should have had the thing. Now, granted, they could have said, hey, he's missing the apron and the factory missed it. That's just a bad factory. Or it could have had the apron and then the factory just messed up during production. You don't know that. But also it's just like, you got to be catching this stuff.
Yeah.
You have to be catching this stuff. A lot of their stuff is just weird stuff. Like, I'm missing this and missing that. It's like, you know, they had to do a whole like item of replacement stuff for Thundercats because it was missing. It's like, that's bad. When you have that many things missing from your line, that's bad. Like, that's bad factory management. You know, Super 7's way bigger than me. How am I able to do it and you can't? You know, so it's just it's a ton of things. I mean, 2
years might be an exaggeration. A year and a half for the Sewer Samurai Leonardo, which is my favorite Leonardo.
Okay, he's a good one.
Super 7 comes out with theirs. I pre-order it. I remember I'm at Disney World with my family, and I'm like, give me 5 minutes. Because and I was like, I gotta get this. It's gonna be so cool. The Ultimate figures are so cool looking. I've never gotten one, but I'm definitely getting this one. Wait a year and a half for it, and like I pull it out, and you can just like, and his legs are just like this.
Yeah. I mean, listen, product development's a nightmare because there are things that even if I made comments and everything was perfect. Yeah, when you got to production, say he came out and he was jiggly like that. You know, it would suck. It would absolutely suck. But, you know, what are you going to do? Sometimes it happens. Like, again, like, you know, I hold the companies accountable because the designers and the engineers should be making the comments. But also it's just like, this is plastic and heat and temperatures and factories in mainland China, you know, with toilets as holes in the floor. Like, this is like, sometimes things happen, you know? So I don't know what to tell you, but yeah.
Do you know what made this easier on you?
What's that?
If you didn't sign a deal with Resvani and you signed it with Tesla, because then it would have just, the Tesla truck would have been so much easier to QC.
You know, Tesla doesn't have a known PR department. Like, they do. They have to have a PR department. But you can't go on their website, like their corporate site, and find a contact for their PR department. Because, you know, us with the movie and stuff, we were looking at, like, you know, how could we do, like, some sponsorship deals and this and that, energy drinks or clothing lines or Under Armour or what have you. So I said, you know, it'd be really cool. This was before I found out about Resvani. I said, we should partner with Tesla to get the Cybertrucks in the movie, but like make them all like tactical and stuff. Yeah. My producer, he couldn't find anything. And this is a guy who represents like a bunch of like very talented wrestlers and actors and stuff. He couldn't find any contact for anyone in a PR department or licensing department at Tesla. They're like locked down. You know, looking at it now, I think the Cybertruck's pretty stupid looking, but you know, it's just, this is way cooler.
I just imagine him being like, to all his designers, my mic's falling, all his designers like, all right, you all have to the end of the day to give me something. And some dude was just fed up with his job.
Right?
And just like, shitted out this box drawing. And he was like, that's it.
And you're like,
yeah.
That happens all the time. Like, I mean, I think Teslas are boring looking cars as it is. Like, you look at them, there's like, they're not cool, they're not sporty looking. Like, so I saw the Cybertruck, I thought it was fake. You know how you see concept cars and they always look weird like that?
Oh, I thought it was a gimmick.
I thought it was like, all right, cool, it's just a concept, it's not going to look like that.
Yeah.
But they were like, nope, that's it. It's going to be aluminum. Like, it's going to look like a DeLorean, but uglier. And I'm like, wow, they really didn't change anything.
The thing that gets me is like, what's your end goal? Because like, you drive a Tundra.
Yeah.
And
like a real truck.
We can get into that in a second if you want, but but you drive like a second generation or third generation Tundra. Like the generation before that looked completely different than this one. Like
Well, they've done many iterations of it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
the
where do you go from-
2050 Tesla truck
True.
is going to look like the 2024 Tesla truck.
That's a good point.
I mean, what are they going to do? Get better at design? They started at the exact bottom.
Oh, that's funny. I feel like design nowadays is just getting worse. Like you look at I saw a Mustang the other day, and I said, "That's a Mustang."
Was it the bubbly one?
Yeah,
The
it's like
Mach-E?
the new like electric one.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's like a crossover.
I'm
They
like-
still make the Mustang, but they have the Mustang Mach-E as well. It's stupid.
my brothers grew up. All their cars were Mustangs. My brother had an SVO. They all had 5.0. Like
Are they gonna get that?
no, like I just saw them. Like man, Mustangs used to be cool. That thing looks like crap.
Well, the Mustangs stopped being cool until 2006. From 85
Yeah, when-
to 2006.
Well, when did
were
they come out
pretty
with
bad.
the retro style one?
Yeah, I think that was like 2006.
That was cool.
Yes.
That was all. And then it was like
Yeah. But that
Instead of-
90s Mustang.
instead of oh no, the
was
90s one was
disgusting.
terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Like the ones like my brothers, they had like 87s and 89s, like the hatchback style. Like those were cool looking. But then yeah, that 90s one. And like I felt like everyone in high school had one. But it was like they were a dime a dozen and they weren't cool looking.
Now I like the Fox body, and like a 92, like the 85
Yeah.
to 92
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
I love that. I tell my wife all the time, like I want a red one, convertible, roll bar with white leather. And she's like, that's the most redneck thing you could do. And I'm like, I know, but it's awesome.
Well, it's like, like I had an 87 Supra.
Ooh.
And I love that thing, but it was the old body style.
Yeah.
But it was still cool looking.
Mhm.
But like the 90, 91 body style, those things were badass. But those things were like $100 grand, like
Mhm.
trying to get one.
Mhm. That's like the quintessential Supra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, the late model ones. Yeah. But then it's like they reissued the Supra and it's tiny. It's like
Yeah.
this big.
I still think it's awesome looking.
I mean, it's cool, but
Yeah.
I would like it to be a little
Yeah.
bigger. Like
it's a BMW.
that's it's like
Yeah.
a little Z3 or something, right?
Just
Yeah.
a super shell.
Yeah.
It's all
But I'm like,
BMW
because I
inside.
had one, I would want one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's stupid, but
Hmm.
I am a Toyota guy, so. But it's just too little for me. I'm gonna go from a Tundra to like
Yeah.
squeeze down into the Supra. Nah,
I'll get you a classic Celica. That'd be great.
or get like the 300ZX, like a classic 300Z.
The Nissan
Yeah.
300ZX is my
Yeah.
Blair's favorite is like a 72 280Z,
Whoa.
which I love.
Okay.
But my favorite's like a 96
Yeah.
300Z with the
Yeah.
twin turbo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've lost our entire fan base with this conversation.
No, I'm sure. Listen, it's the tail end of it, and people aren't going to be watching. But I bet you there's going to be like 5 people that are like, "Man, when you guys started talking about cars, it was awesome." So gaining new fans.